There is something Carl Jung discovered about soulmate connections that very few people truly understand. It is something that completely reshapes how we view when and how a reunion may unfold. If your soulmate is married, you are probably searching for signs, analyzing every behavior, every word, and every small gesture that might suggest a change in their life. But what if the most important signs are not where you expect them to be? Jung spent decades studying synchronicities and concluded that the universe functions in a very precise way when it comes to soul connections. There are clear signs that a reunion with your soulmate could be approaching, but they do not appear where most people usually look. In this video, you will discover the signs Jung identified as true indicators that your soulmate might be ready to return to you, and most importantly, how to recognize when you yourself are energetically aligned to receive them again. If you have come this far, it is because you feel that deep connection. Perhaps it is time to understand what the universe is truly trying to reveal to you. Before exploring the specific signs, it is important to understand why Jung considered internal indicators far more accurate than external ones. Most people in soulmate situations make the same core mistake. They become overly focused on signs coming from the other person. She posted a nostalgic song on social media. He looked at me differently during the meeting. She questioned certain aspects of her marriage. These might be coincidences, projections of your own desire, or even genuine signs. But they are all external, outside your control, and therefore unreliable as a foundation for real hope. Through decades of research on synchronicities and individuation, Jung made a groundbreaking discovery. The universe communicates readiness through changes within our own psyche. When a soul is truly prepared for reunion with their soulmate, it appears through specific psychological transformations. It is as if consciousness itself recognizes when we have developed enough maturity to sustain the extraordinary depth of love that a soulmate connection requires. These internal signs cannot be forced, imitated, fabricated, or manipulated. They arise naturally, once the necessary inner and spiritual work has genuinely been completed. This difference is essential and must be clearly understood. Jung observed carefully that when two souls are truly ready to reunite, the universe removes obstacles naturally, without pressure or manipulation. However, this only occurs when both individuals have reached the level of spiritual maturity required to sustain a conscious and transformative union. The first sign of spiritual readiness is deeply paradoxical. You completely stop waiting obsessively for her. Jung described this as the development of neurotic freedom, the moment you release the unhealthy urge to control divine timing. In the early stages of a soulmate connection, it is natural to become preoccupied with the future. You wake up wondering, could today finally be the day? You analyze every synchronicity as proof that she may soon leave her husband. And you go to sleep each night feeling frustrated because nothing visible has changed. Your emotional energy becomes tied to an uncertain and hypothetical future. But when genuine spiritual maturity develops, something fundamental and irreversible changes in your psyche. You continue to love deeply and remain open to the sacred possibility of reunion, yet you are no longer emotionally controlled by anxious urgency. Jung would call this conscious detachment. You release the compulsive need to control when, how, or where things will happen. This sign becomes visible through specific behavioral changes. You stop repeatedly checking her social media searching for clues about her marriage. You stop creating detailed mental scenarios about how she might finally leave her husband. You stop feeling intense anxiety when you do not hear from her for weeks or even months. You stop interpreting every minor interaction as evidence of an imminent shift. Instead, something remarkable occurs. You rediscover the ability to live your life fully and meaningfully. You invest sincere energy into your personal and professional goals. You nurture other meaningful relationships. You follow your true passions. You contribute positively to the world, not as a distraction or an attempt to forget, but because you have genuinely rediscovered the joy of living independent of any specific romantic outcome. So Jung observed that this transformation reflects the development of mature individuation, the rare psychological capacity to experience true inner completeness within oneself. Paradoxically, it is precisely when you stop desperately needing the reunion that you become energetically receptive enough for it to occur. The obsessed person projects emotional neediness, silent desperation, and psychological dependence. The person who has achieved conscious detachment radiates inner fullness, deep calm, and truly unconditional love. Intuitively, you already know which of these energies resonates with the frequency of a spiritually mature soul. When you honestly realize that you are no longer living controlled by the future and have begun to fully inhabit the present moment, this becomes the first clear and definitive sign that your psyche is aligned with the universe's highest possibilities. The second sign of spiritual readiness is even more counterintuitive and mysterious. The most powerful synchronicities related to your soulmate begin to appear exactly when you reach peaceful acceptance that perhaps a reunion may never happen in this lifetime. Synchronicities follow a paradoxical universal law. They increase in frequency, intensity, and meaning when we stop desperately searching for them. It is as if the universe tests our emotional maturity before offering sacred confirmations. During the early obsessive stages, you may have interpreted any small coincidence as a divine signal of imminent reunion. You saw her name repeatedly, heard your shared song on the radio at the exact moment you thought of her, or experienced dreams that seemed to predict a near reunion. Yet these synchronicities were often accompanied by anxiety, urgency, and the need for external reassurance. Detachment-based synchronicities feel completely different. They appear when you are in a state of deep inner calm, usually focused on other meaningful activities without actively looking for signs. Their energetic quality is unmistakable. Instead of producing urgency or anxious expectation, they bring a quiet sense of confirmation and deep peace. It might be a vivid and meaningful dream where both of you exist on a higher level of awareness, communicating through pure, unconditional love. You awaken not with desperation to force physical outcomes, but with calm gratitude for a spiritual connection that transcends time and circumstance. Or it could be an unlikely sequence of events. You think of her at the exact moment someone mentions her name, or you find a symbolic object connected to your bond in a place where it logically should not appear. Yet instead of concluding, "She will call me today," you simply receive it as confirmation that the connection is real, powerful, and enduring. Jung emphasized that the most transformative synchronicities are accompanied by what he called silent inner certainty. You do not feel compelled to tell everyone. You do not obsessively analyze the meaning. You do not create elaborate strategies based on the event. You simply know, beyond rational thought, that you are connected to something sacred and deeply meaningful. These synchronicities also occur with precise timing. They appear when you have developed enough emotional stability to receive them without losing balance. If they had appeared during obsessive phases, they might have deepened unhealthy fantasies and urgency. Instead, they come when you are mature enough to integrate them as pure spiritual reassurance while remaining centered. The true test is your spontaneous reaction. If a powerful synchronicity immediately makes you plan ways to win back your soulmate, then maturity is still developing. If it simply strengthens your inner peace and your connection with the divine, then you have reached the level of spiritual readiness the universe has been patiently waiting for. The third sign of spiritual readiness is perhaps the most transformative of all. The fundamental nature of your love for her changes completely. Jung described this shift as the evolution from ego-based love to soul-based love. In the early stages, even when you believe your love is unconditional, subtle elements of possessiveness, emotional neediness, and unconscious personal expectations are often mixed with genuine affection. You truly want her happiness, yet secretly hope that happiness will eventually include you. You consciously respect her current life choices, but still imagine scenarios where she changes her decision. When true spiritual maturity is reached, a profound alchemical transformation occurs in the nature of your love. You develop what Jung called conscious love, a form of love that genuinely places the other person's highest well-being above your own emotional desires or romantic expectations. This sign becomes visible through clear emotional and behavioral shifts. If you hear that she is experiencing a peaceful and fulfilling period in her marriage, your first sincere reaction is genuine happiness for her, not sadness, frustration, jealousy, or resentment about your own unrealized hopes. If she mentions that her husband has been especially attentive and caring recently, you feel sincere gratitude because someone you love deeply is being cared for and valued. Even more profoundly, you naturally stop having fantasies about her leaving her marriage to be with you. This is not because you consciously suppress those thoughts or force yourself to avoid them, but because they simply no longer arise in your mind. Your consciousness stops automatically creating scenarios where she chooses you romantically, because your love has become so pure and selfless that you no longer require her to make any specific choice in your favor. Jung carefully observed that this form of love is extremely rare among human beings. Even in the most intense and sincere connections, many people, including those in committed relationships, still hold subtle personal agendas or unconscious expectations. Thoughts such as, "I love you deeply, so eventually you should choose me," or "Our connection is unique, so you should consider leaving your marriage," often remain present. There can also be the hidden belief that if the other person truly loved you, they would act in a certain way. Mature and spiritually evolved love contains none of these expectations or hidden conditions. You love her true essence, her soul, her genuine happiness, and her ongoing spiritual growth, still completely independent of how these unfold in her external life. If she grows and flourishes while remaining married and committed, you sincerely celebrate that growth. If she eventually evolves by choosing divorce and exploring different paths, you also celebrate that transformation. However, you are not personally attached or emotionally dependent on any specific outcome. This inner transformation also visibly changes your energy when you are physically together. Instead of carrying subtle romantic expectation, hidden hope, or underlying tension, you radiate pure appreciation for the sacred opportunity to be in the presence of someone you genuinely and unconditionally love. She can sense this energetic shift immediately. It feels like being with someone who loves her completely, without expecting anything in return. Jung emphasized that when a person experiences this rare level of unconditional and selfless love, it activates something deeply transformative within their own soul. It does not necessarily create an immediate urge to leave a marriage or change external circumstances, but it serves as a powerful reminder of the possibility of loving and being loved without psychological games, hidden motives, conditions, or expectations. The ultimate and undeniable test is entirely internal, Shadi, can you truly imagine her remaining happy in her current marriage for the rest of her life and still feel genuine peace with that possibility? If the answer is yes, you have developed mature and conscious love. If any part of you still feels sadness or resentment at that thought, then further spiritual work remains to be done. The fourth sign of spiritual readiness is both the deepest and the most demanding. You have largely completed the process of healing and integrating the aspects of your own psyche that this unavailable soulmate situation was meant to reveal. Jung would refer to this as conscious shadow integration, the courageous process of recognizing and transforming parts of ourselves that we usually prefer not to face. Every situation involving a married soulmate acts as a precise psychological mirror, reflecting specific areas of our personality that require healing and growth. For some individuals, it reveals unconscious patterns of repeatedly being drawn to emotionally unavailable partners. For others, it exposes a tendency to use romantic fantasy as an escape from the responsibility of building a truly fulfilling life. For many, it highlights old wounds connected to abandonment, rejection, or the deep belief of not being worthy or enough. Jung consistently noted that the universe orchestrates highly specific situations that compel us to confront the very aspects of ourselves we most resist examining. The pain of loving someone who cannot be fully yours is not random. It is designed to bring to the surface whatever is blocking your emotional maturity and spiritual evolution. In earlier and less mature stages, you may have blamed external circumstances entirely. You might have thought, if she were not married, we would be perfect together, or the timing is simply wrong, or she should recognize the special connection we share. However, when genuine spiritual maturity develops, you begin to see the situation differently. You recognize that it is exactly as it needs to be, because it reveals precisely what you must heal and develop within yourself. This sign becomes visible through deep psychological insights and lasting behavioral changes. You might honestly realize that you have always felt drawn to emotionally unavailable people because it confirms an old subconscious belief that you are not meant to be someone's first choice. The inner work then involves identifying where this belief originated and consciously transforming it through genuine commitment to personal growth. Or you may notice, with some discomfort, that your intense focus on her has functioned as a convenient emotional distraction from important areas of your life that truly need attention. Perhaps your career has remained stagnant, your health neglected, other relationships superficial, and your personal development repeatedly postponed. The impossible nature of the situation allows you to avoid the difficult but necessary work of creating a deeply satisfying and meaningful life. For some individuals, the situation reveals even deeper patterns connected to childhood abandonment, trauma, or dysfunctional family dynamics. The married person represents both the promise of complete love and the certainty of potential loss, recreating familiar patterns of attachment and insecurity that are painful yet strangely familiar. Jung stressed that these insights should never lead to harsh self-judgment or guilt, but instead to gentle self-compassion. These patterns developed for understandable reasons and likely served a protective function at some point in your life. Now, however, you are given the opportunity to consciously choose healthier, more mature, and more functional patterns. True shadow integration becomes evident through observable changes in daily life. You gradually stop feeling attracted to emotionally unavailable people in general. You develop the ability to connect in healthy ways with individuals who are genuinely available, interested, and willing to build a relationship with you. You also invest steady and meaningful energy into creating a life that feels intrinsically fulfilling, rather than relying on a specific romantic outcome for validation or happiness. Even more profoundly, you begin to experience what Jung called inner wholeness, a state of genuine psychological integration. The different and previously conflicting parts of your personality, the wounded child who felt abandoned, the adolescent who defined identity through romantic intensity, and the adult who confused emotional intensity with true intimacy, gradually unite into a mature, cohesive, and functional self. The definitive indicator of this integration is that your attraction to your soulmate changes in quality. Instead of being driven by emotional need, desperation, or unresolved issues, it becomes a calm appreciation for a beautiful soul. You still love her deeply and sincerely, not because she completes something missing within you, but because you recognize something divine in her that resonates harmoniously with the divine within yourself. When you reach this level of psychological wholeness, you naturally begin to attract people and life situations that reflect this new, mature energy. And if a reunion with your soulmate is truly destined, it will only occur when both individuals have reached this same level of maturity and spiritual readiness. Recognizing these signs within yourself is only the beginning. Jung repeatedly emphasized that awareness without committed action becomes a form of disguised spiritual narcissism. If you realize that these signs are not yet fully developed, there is specific, practical, and transformative work that can accelerate your progress toward genuine spiritual readiness. The first essential task is developing what Jung called the transcendent function, the rare psychological ability to hold paradoxes and apparent contradictions without trying to resolve them too quickly through linear thinking. The married soulmate situation is inherently paradoxical. You love deeply, yet must release attachment. You trust divine timing but cannot control it. You maintain hope while also accepting that reunion might never occur in this lifetime. In practical terms, this means becoming genuinely comfortable with uncertainty and ambiguity. Instead of constantly seeking reassurance through repeated tarot readings, frequent psychic consultations, or obsessive analysis of signs and coincidences, you cultivate an inner stability that does not depend on knowing the future. You learn to live fully in the present moment while remaining open to whatever possibilities the universe may gently unfold. The second important task is establishing a consistent and meaningful spiritual practice that connects you to something far greater than this specific romantic situation. Jung observed that when people become overly identified with a romantic narrative, they often lose sight of their broader life purpose. Daily meditation, sincere prayer, reflective journaling, time in nature, creative expression, or meaningful service can all remind you that you are part of a larger universal story that goes beyond personal romantic concerns. The third crucial task is intentionally building a life that is genuinely rich, meaningful, and fulfilling on its own, independent of any particular romantic outcome. This does not mean distracting yourself or trying to forget your soulmate. Rather, it means consciously creating a life so purposeful, joyful, and productive that a romantic reunion would be a beautiful addition, but never a requirement for your happiness or sense of fulfillment. You invest deeply in your career, your unique talents, and your personal contribution to the world. Develop friendships that offer genuine emotional support, intellectual stimulation, and sincere companionship. Regularly participate in activities that bring real joy, growth, and fulfillment. Travel with awareness. Learn continuously and enthusiastically. Evolve steadily. Contribute in meaningful ways. Gradually build a version of yourself that any mature soul would truly feel fortunate to share life with. The fourth task is to consciously heal the psychological wounds this situation has revealed within your psyche. If you have identified abandonment issues, actively seek therapy or engage in deep inner work around these long-standing themes. If you recognize patterns of being drawn to unavailable people, and courageously explore where these tendencies began developmentally and how they may have once served as protective mechanisms. If you have discovered a habit of using romantic fantasy as an escape, honestly examine which areas of concrete reality you are avoiding through this strategy. Jung strongly believed that when we consciously face our shadow material with courage and dedication, transformation occurs far more quickly than when we avoid, deny, or suppress it. Be completely honest about what this situation is teaching you, and consistently engage in both inner and outer work required to integrate these lessons permanently. Finally, regularly practice what Jung called active imagination. Consciously create detailed internal scenarios in which you sincerely wish your soulmate complete happiness, even if that happiness never includes you romantically. Visualize her thriving within her marriage, growing spiritually through her current life experiences, and finding genuine fulfillment in her chosen path. Observe carefully whether you can truly feel pure joy for her happiness, even when it does not involve you in any way. This demanding practice gradually cultivates the unconditional love that is essential for true spiritual maturity. When two people develop this rare quality of altruistic love, union becomes possible in ways that transcend ordinary relationship dynamics. The question that often remains is whether there is a real possibility of union with your married soulmate. Jung would say that this question itself is incorrectly framed. The truly important question is not when or how, but whether you will be spiritually prepared to recognize and embrace whatever possibility the universe may present. The first Jungian principle regarding divine timing is that it never follows human schedules or personal expectations. If a union is destined, it will occur precisely when both individuals are spiritually prepared to sustain this profound level of conscious connection. This could happen in months, years, decades, or perhaps never in this physical lifetime. All these possibilities hold equal value and meaning from the perspective of spiritual evolution. Jung carefully observed that trying to force synchronicities is not only impossible, but also counterproductive. They arise naturally when perfect alignment exists between personal consciousness and universal flow. In soulmate connections, this means that union can only genuinely occur when both people have sufficiently completed their individual individuation process to support a mature and conscious relationship. If she is currently married, there are specific lessons she must learn and integrate within her present circumstances. These lessons may relate to commitment, honoring soul contracts, or developing certain aspects of her personality that can only emerge within this relational context. Attempting to interfere with this natural process is similar to trying to accelerate the ripening of fruit. It may be removed from the tree prematurely, but it will not be sweet or nourishing. Your appropriate role during this period is to focus entirely and consistently on your own spiritual growth and personal development. Jung repeatedly emphasized that we can only attract what we energetically resonate with. If you truly desire a mature and spiritual union with your soulmate, you must first become someone capable of sustaining such a transcendent relationship. This includes healing your relational patterns, steadily developing your career and talents, and contributing uniquely to the world. It also means genuinely learning to be content alone, discovering purpose independent of romantic validation or external approval, and consistently cultivating patience, compassion, wisdom, and faith. Jung believed that when two people are genuinely ready to unite, the universe removes obstacles naturally and gracefully. This may occur through unexpected changes that neither person could predict or plan. However, trying to force these changes through pressure, manipulation, or emotional interference often leads to further complications and delays. If a separation naturally occurs in her marriage, it is crucial that it does not result from pressure coming from you. She must reach her own conclusions about what is truly best for her life and spiritual growth. Your role is simply to remain emotionally, spiritually, and energetically available for whatever possibilities the universe may present. There is also a truth Jung would insist on highlighting. Physical union may not be the ultimate goal or highest possibility. Some soulmate connections are meant to teach forms of transcendent love that do not require a conventional relationship for fulfillment. The spiritual bond between you might be far more powerful and transformative at a distance than it would be in a premature physical union. The true measure of your spiritual readiness is your genuine ability to wish her happiness wholeheartedly, even if she chooses to remain married permanently. If you can truly love without possessing, support without controlling, and feel authentic joy in her joy regardless of its source, then you have developed the rare form of love that soulmate connections are meant to teach. If you have reached this point, you may now understand that encountering your married soulmate was not a cruel accident. It was a sacred invitation to a form of spiritual evolution that very few people are willing or able to experience fully. Carl Jung devoted his life to understanding how the psyche operates through paradoxes and apparent impossibilities. The situations we resist most are often those we most need in order to grow into our highest potential. The experience you are living is not a mistake to be corrected, but a profound mystery to be accepted with awareness and gratitude. Your soulmate may be married in this life because both of you need to learn specific lessons that are only possible within this exact configuration. She may be learning about commitment, honoring promises, and developing qualities that emerge only within her current relationship. You, in turn, are learning unconditional love, divine patience, faith without guarantees, and trust in a greater cosmic intelligence. The universe does not waste experiences. Every moment of pain, every night of questioning, and every day you chose to love without possession is shaping rare inner qualities that will serve you for a lifetime. You are becoming someone capable of loving in a purer, freer, and more transcendent way than most people ever achieve. Perhaps physical union will occur when divine timing is perfectly aligned. Perhaps it will not happen in this lifetime. Yet the spiritual union that already exists between you is enduring and cannot be broken by external circumstances. This connection transcends time, form, and apparent limitations. What ultimately matters is not whether you will romantically unite with your soulmate, but who you are becoming through this profound experience. The person you are evolving into, wiser, more compassionate, and spiritually mature, is someone worthy of whatever love the universe chooses to bring. Jung consistently reminded us that the purpose of life is not mere happiness, but meaning. The meaning you derive from this seemingly impossible experience becomes a spiritual treasure that no one can ever take away. You have discovered your capacity to love beyond the limitations of the ego, and that itself is a remarkable spiritual achievement. Trust the process fully. Honor the connection always. Respect divine timing completely, and continue growing into the person this experience is inviting you to become. In the end, the true union your soul may be seeking is not only with another person, but with your own highest and most divine nature. If this message resonated deeply with you and reflected your own spiritual journey, write in the comments, "I trust in divine timing of love." This will show that the message reached those it was meant for. And if you wish to continue exploring the profound mysteries of the human soul and spiritual connections, subscribe to the channel and enable notifications. Here, you will discover transformative teachings on love, destiny, and spiritual growth inspired by the enduring wisdom of Carl Jung. Your journey is only beginning, and it is far more beautiful than you can presently imagine.